What's up, Rugby Brew? Nice one, chaps. Self-isolation's got me pondering who the better player is, or if you compare Schalk at his peak against Pieter Steph du Toit at his peak.
Gazi, that's a great question, my son. But before I get to it, a quick shout out to Llewellyn. Congrats on the birth of your baby boy, my man. All the best. And PJ Powers, where are you, my son? You're hiding, bro. Rugby Brew needs you. Stop getting slit out back home and get on Zoom and join me. All right. Schalk versus Pieter Steph at their peaks. Who's the better player? Peak being the operative word. All right. Because if you look at their overall career and Pieter Steph's not done yet, well, Pieter Steph is the better player 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It's not even a race, and I'll get to it. But at their peak, well, they peaked at different times, all right? Schalk peaked at 2004, 5, up until 2007. I would say that's when he was in his prime, okay? He burst onto the scene really in 2004. He was the World Player of the Year. I mean, he was Jake White's golden boy, and, he was just all over the opposition like white on rice. He stood head and shoulders above his peers. Pieter Steph, I think, burst onto the scene around 2012, and he's just got better every year. Played for the Box in 2014 or 15, but every year he's just got better and better, improved his game, and now he's on top of that mountain. If you compare the players, Schalk was played primarily open side flank for the Box, where Pieter Steph played on the blind side. Although in South Africa we don't really have traditional open side flanks, we normally just have three massive individuals who love collisions, barring maybe Warren Whiteley. It's very hard to say who was better at their peak, because I think Pieter Steph's going to get better, and I'm leaning towards Pieter Steph. Now you may ask, well, why don't you think Schalk got better past 2007? Well, he didn't. It almost seemed like his game never changed. He got caught up in a time where he dominated and the world of rugby moved on, but he sort of stayed in that time. The only thing he really developed was his offload off the ruck, first receiver. He didn't even do that too well. Where, if you look at Pieter Steph, he's got better. He understands the tackle situation so well. I mean, who do you know in the world that knows the tackle situation better? Every time Pieter Steph gets tackled, he knows, I'm held, I place, or I'm not held, I release the ball, I get up, play on. No one knows that better than Pieter Steph. He's awesome in the lineouts. I just think he's a much smarter player than Schalk, hence why he's got this open mind to allow himself to progress. They're both hard as nails. They're both mentally tough. Talking about mental toughness, I don't think there's a mentally tougher player than Schalk out there. I think Schalk eclipses them all, and it's well documented in his awards and his achievements. But rugby's got to be a bit more than about mentally toughness and, that's physical attribute. Let me ask you a question. Who's your favorite Avenger? It's either Thor or the Incredible Hulk. 9 times out of 10, it's the Incredible Hulk. No one's picking Spider-Man. No one's picking Iron Man. Tony Stark was a nerd. No one cares about him. I'm just joking. To all the nerds. No hate speech here. But everyone loved Hulk. Why? Because he was big, he was mean, he was strong, he was tough. He could jump into the sky, pull out aeroplanes, he could bash through mountains. He was reckless. Hence, the Incredible Schalk. He's tough, he's hard, he plays a full 80 minutes. I think often we get caught up in the brawn as South Africans. We play too much into this, the guy's so tough. And rugby has got to be a bit more than that. And this is not a hate speech on Schalk. This is, an enlightenment on looking at the player and actually seeing what he did well and what he didn't do well. Well, what he didn't do well was, I don't think Schalk ever made a textbook tackle. And fair enough, his game was to fly in there and to be reckless and often catch guys up here. And we forgave him because he was the Incredible Schalk. But he gave away penalties. If it wasn't a hard tackle, he would enter the ruck from whichever angle I don't think Schalk ever read a playbook. I don't think Schalk still to this day knows how to enter a ruck. Whichever angle he's arriving at, he's entering that ruck at. And he's going off his feet head first. When you compare the two players and you look at the Marvel character, well, does the Incredible Hulk beat Iron Man in a fight? I don't care. But the point is, rugby also has another avenue to it about option taking, about being smart, and being able to adapt. And I never saw that in Schalk. You know, we often as rugby fans, as followers of the game, even as the experts, we get caught up in this bravado of being the biggest, the toughest, the hardest. And that's great. I love it too. I love big tackles. But sometimes it can't just all be about the bro science. Sometimes we need to also appreciate the small nuances. You know, Schalk couldn't read the ruck like a George Smith, like a Richie McCaw. Why? Because he never really endeavored. Pieter Steph offers the box so much, or the Stormers too. Not that I care about them. But he offers the box so much in terms of his line-up capability, in terms of his offload game, his tackle game, his ruck game, his support play. You know, when you compare the two, Schalk stayed in 2007, where I think Pieter Steph is just going to get better and better and better. So I know this is different. This is not what you thought you were going to hear, but it's good to look at things from a different point of view and understand them. So no gratitude needed. And to that I say, you're welcome.